Congrats on making it to week one of the college football season. Nebraska playing in 2 days. I have waited patiently to finally get to see what this new look Nebraska is going to be. You know, a little Dana Holgerson action. Dylan Raiola matured, a secondary that's pretty advanced in terms of at least what they've done over the past few years, and now they're starting experience. You've got some question marks, like people want to talk about the defensive line. The offensive line has a couple new guys in the rotation, so a lot to look forward to. Most importantly, Travis Kelce got engaged to Taylor Swift today, which means we're going to hear plenty on the broadcast about that, and I'm sure we'll hear about how Mahomes and Dylan Raiola look alike. You know, I saw this little clip yesterday when I was scrolling through Twitter, which actually led me to watch this interview on CBS Sports YouTube channel. It was Dylan, Sierra Wright, Deshaun Singleton, Marquise Buford, and Malcolm Hartzog all sitting down having a conversation. And yeah, they were talking a little bit about his relationship with Mahomes being legitimate and not just people making fun of him and making jokes online. So yeah, a lot to get excited about. You know, the number one thing I'm looking for in this game not only is how many fans show up and how excited the vibe and energy is around this first game. I'm looking to see how pumped up the players are, how serious they are, and how dialed in they are in terms of what their actions say about what their words do. So recently we've seen a lot of talk about Nebraska being a quote unquote playoff contending team this season. And we've heard about how Nebraska has all the potential in the world to win 10 games, which we heard that they could start 7-0 last season too, leading up to that Ohio State game. Obviously, that was a little bit of a letdown as we got deeper into the season and we had a couple losses at that point. But my point in this is, I'd love to see if Nebraska's players come out and match the talk. If they're saying we actually have playoff aspirations and they play up to that level, right? Which means they've got to play extremely disciplined. You don't have all those stupid penalties that we've seen in the past. You don't have the mistakes and the bonehead errors with the turnovers, the fumbles, the interceptions that are completely unnecessary and really pull you out of a game, you know? So if all things come together and it looks like all lights are a go, I'm going to be very pumped up. And you guys know the live stream post game will be, we'll just call it energetic. It'll feel like I'm on an energy drink. Actually, I probably will. I'll take a little energy drink to get you guys really in the mode with me at 8 o'clock. No, it'll be 10 o'clock my time by the time that one ends. But anyway, with all that, hello guys, welcome to the show. We're going to talk about a few things tonight. We're going to get into some of my bold predictions for the season. We're going to talk about my Big Ten prediction. I'm actually going to go game by game or week by week, game by game for the entire Big Ten schedule on the Big Ten playoff predictor website and make my picks so you can get an idea of where I think Big Ten teams are going to finish this season. And then obviously we'll talk a little bit about this game that's happening in 2 days. So yeah, I'm going to get to chat real quick because I saw we already had Jim fire off 1038. He says 10 home team, 38 Big Red rides. So he thinks Nebraska wins 38-10. Jim, thank you, number one, for the support of the channel. Number two, thank you for predicting a win because I feel like your good energy is going to hopefully push some good luck into that stadium. I wish you were going to be at that game. I'm not sure if you are actually. I think you said you weren't, but wish you could go, Jim. I wish I could go too. It's a trek for me, you know, going from Arizona to KC. It's only a 2.5-hour flight, but the problem is I got to fly in there the morning of, which means I got to get up at around 5 o'clock in the morning to catch the early morning flight. Then I'd have to go from the airport to the stadium, go back to a hotel that night. It's a lot of work. And when you travel as much as I do, and when you plan to go to as many games as I do this season, I just got to pick and choose my spots wisely. So I won't be at this one, but I will be there for the Michigan game. So I'm going to watch this one from the comfort of my own home, which is good for you because if you want to watch my post-game reaction, I will be doing it from this exact same spot, which I personally think is the best way to deliver a reaction. I've done it on the road. I've done it after games in Lincoln and Colorado. I was in Tennessee when they played against Wisconsin, I think, last year, the year before. But my point in saying that is it will be a normally scheduled live reaction. Dave, thank you for the $10 super chat. Thank you for being a member. He says, Connor needs your expert scalper advice for Arrowhead. How long before kickoff do you get the best deal? How many scalpers do you negotiate with typically? You know, the scalper deal is a tricky game, and I think my experience has led me to kind of feel out these situations. If we're going for general answers here, like how long do we wait before the game kicks off? I would say the last hour before kickoff, prices tend to rise because you're now in a position where people know that there's a small amount left. You know, your only quantity is going to be online. And even then, if it's a popular game, people have already bought those up. So I would say the 2 hours, 3 hours out gap is probably your sweet spot. but you can go even earlier or even later than that, like 4 hours, 5 hours out. I would just suggest day of buying your tickets. So I don't know where you buy them at Arrowhead. I have been to a Chiefs game twice, but I didn't scalp at those games. So I went with tickets in advance. I would say just get there, walk around, hold up 2 fingers, 3 fingers, however many tickets you need. And the more flexible you can be in terms of where you're willing to sit, the better deal you can get, right? I love to walk away. I love the game. I love the art of negotiating. I like to see it on their face when they feel like they can get me, and then I don't let them, and I walk away, and then they chase you down, and they're like, oh, wait, I'll go to this price, So just feel it out, feel what the guy's saying, and then figure out where you want to sit. I would say if you know that you want to be in the lower bowl and not in the nosebleed section, the higher ups, then yeah, say I'm gonna spend 150 a ticket at that point. I was looking at ticket prices actually before we hopped on here, so let's do that to give us an idea of what scalper prices should be before the game. So this is the current updated numbers on SeatGeek. So you can get in right now with fees to the nosebleeds for $114 a ticket. This is for a pair of 2. But there's a lot of options for less than $120, as you can see here. They're all up in this upper left corner, which, to be honest, probably isn't a terrible seat. I went to a Chiefs game and I sat right here on the 45-yard line. Great spot. I've also been to the Chiefs game and I sat right here in this, like, I don't know what you call this, like the club level. This was a good spot as well. You could see the entire stadium. So I wouldn't say there's a bad seat in the stadium. It's not like, you're going to Michigan where if you're deep, you won't be able to see anything. If the tickets right now around the 50, I mean, look at these. These are up in, row 3. Okay, row 3, section 120, which is on what, the 40-yard line, 35-yard line. It's $289 right now. You'll probably be able to get these from a scalper for around $200 a ticket is my guess once you're at the game. Now, that's not an ideal seat since you're so close up. You're probably behind the Cincinnati players' heads, so you won't be able to see perfectly. Your ideal spot's probably in this range. I mean, I would argue this is the best seat in the house, and it's only $328 right now. So think about this. You're a Nebraska fan, you live in the area, and you can drive down to Kansas City within 3 hours. I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. I'm going to go and sit, if I'm on a budget, and I want to pay less than $200, I'm going to go and get tickets from a scalper probably in this range. I'll probably get in to these seats probably further back, like whatever these $300 ones are. I'll probably get these for $200 before the game, okay? Now, I don't know where to buy them from because I haven't scalped at this stadium, but if I walk around, I'm sure I'd find them. So that gives you an idea. And this is an easy trek, man. If you live in Nebraska or you live in Kansas or anywhere in that area and you can just drive there and it's 3 hours away, you don't even need a hotel. You'll get back at midnight, 1, 2 a.m., and you can just spend the day at the game for relatively cheap. So pretty good options if you want to go. It's not super expensive. And let me tell you, there have been games where it's been a nightmare. I went to the Colorado game a couple years ago. It was Deion's first in Boulder. I paid $330 or $350 for a single. Normally one ticket, if you're just trying to get in the door, is relatively cheap. That day, because of the hype around Deion, it was so freaking expensive. Same thing with Nebraska last year. Nebraska, Colorado last year, I sat on the 45-yard line about halfway up. I paid $300-something for that ticket. Really high for a single in Memorial Stadium for any game. But these tickets are quite a bit cheaper. So, Dave, I hope that helps. I'm hoping anybody who wants to go to the game can, and I hope you guys do scalp because you will save a lot of money. And even if you don't scalp to go to games, let me just leave you with this one piece of advice because I do know people who do this one thing that is mind-boggling to me. Don't ever buy tickets in advance before the season starts. So people will put tickets up. Like, let's say I go and buy a bunch of tickets right now from Nebraska, and I know I have 6 months to wait before the ticket has to sell. I'm just going to list it at some egregious price, and I'm going to wait. I'm going to prey on you. I'm going to make sure that if you want to get in the game, I'm just going to charge you as much as I possibly can because I have all of the luxury on my side. I can wait. You don't. You have your anxiety, your stress. You want to get it locked in. So you're sitting there, I got to buy this ticket. I got to buy this ticket. Well, you pay a major premium for that. Often $100, $200, $300 premium. So if you're going to a game, not Nebraska, not just any college, it could be any sporting event, period. Do not buy a ticket before the season starts. They will absolutely wreck you. I knew some people who bought tickets last year for the USC game. They bought them in, I think, before the season started, let's say August. And people assumed USC and Nebraska were both going to be top 25 teams. Well, neither of them were. Both of them had kind of down seasons. And I believe the tickets they paid like $500 a piece for back in August were worth about $100 by the time kickoffs came. So wait on tickets most of the time. That's my advice to you. Let's talk about the game a little bit. Let me go through the chat, make sure I say what's up to some people. Don't get me started here. Haven't seen you in a bit. Christian, thanks for being a member. Let's see. Ooh, the other Dave had a good comment. He said that the engagement will overshadow what? He says the engagement will overshadow the Mahomes-Raiola comparisons. I was actually looking. Let's see. I got the engagement right here just so you guys can see it. Not that anyone cares. I know no one cares. But Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are engaged. The only reason that matters is because we're going to have to deal with hearing about it on NFL broadcasts and now the Nebraska broadcast. 100%, which is just not interesting to me. And it's kind of annoying when you hear it 5,000 freaking times. But Dave is right. It will overshadow the Mahomes-Raiola comparison. But then I think about it, and if Mahomes is there on the sideline, they're going to be talking about him a bunch too. I don't know. Over under for Mahomes comments during the game, is it 15? It's got to be around 15. They're going to say Mahomes a lot in that game. They're playing in his stadium, you know, and even Raiola talked about him this week. You know how it is. Dakota, thanks for being a member. He says, will the offense or defense be higher ranked by the end of the year? I think most people expect the offense to be ranked higher. The offense has the firepower. They have a lot more weapons. The defense a bit more unproven. And, you know, for a team that's been focusing on the offense so much and trying to make sure they take that next step, I would hope the offense outperforms the defense this season. The biggest question mark, obviously, is the front. You have a lot of new guys on the line. And where Nebraska succeeded last year was in the trenches. So when you take away your biggest area and your best area on the D, you would expect some sort of a drop off. Who knows? We'll see. I'm not going to count anybody out. I very well could see this being a top 25 defense once again, as they should be. This is a Matt Rule led team. And as we know, Matt Rule leans defense. So let's see here. Daniel says, Connor, out of all the big games this Saturday, who do you think is the most likely to get upset? Let's talk about that real quick before I go over to talking about this game. I'm going to screen share so you guys can see what I'm looking at. We're going to go to FBS and we're going to go to Saturday. Okay. South Florida very well could beat Boise State, in my opinion. I took South Florida with a point. South Florida had a good team last year. They finished strong. I believe they won their bowl game. Don't quote me on that. They won the last game I watched they played in. It was really good. I think Ohio could upset Rutgers. Rutgers to me isn't very good. Ohio's been a decent team in the MAC. Rutgers lost their star player in Monungai. I'm assuming their other running back's back. What's his name? Sam something. But I still think Ohio's a good team, and Rutgers could be on quote-unquote upset alert. East Carolina plays at North Carolina State. Not that anyone cares. Jacksonville State, UCF. I look forward to watching Scott Frost in his debut. What else is interesting here? What else? Auburn, Baylor. So technically Baylor is the underdog at home. I think Baylor will win this game, so that would quote-unquote be an upset. Baylor has a good quarterback. Auburn, a little bit less trusted with Jackson Arnold. Georgia Tech is the favorite on the road at Colorado. I'm riding with Georgia Tech. I don't think that'll be an upset. Saturday games, you got Texas, Ohio State. Technically, Ohio State's the favorite, but the upset based on the AP poll would be Ohio State upsetting Texas. I think Ohio State will win, but that's a freaking toss-up. Syracuse is going to be interesting. They've got the quarterback, what's his name, Angeli from Notre Dame, and he played pretty well in the later part of the season when Riley Leonard got hurt. Tennessee, who knows what they're going to be with their new quarterback. That could be something to watch. It's a neutral site. So many weak games outside of that. Florida State, Bama, who knows? Does Florida State miraculously show up? I hope so. That would be an awesome one to watch. Be pretty cool to see Florida State with Tony White pull it off against Alabama. But then again, I like Alabama better than Florida State. So do I really want that to happen? Probably not. LSU, Clemson. It's a toss-up game. You know, I guess those are my initial thoughts, brother. I don't know. It's kind of a weak slate. Good thing Nebraska's playing on Thursday, though, because there are enough games for me to sit down and want to watch them, like the Texas-Ohio State one, the Florida State-Bama. But we will see. Let's see. JJ, thanks for being a member. He says, hey, Connor, being a content creator myself, I really like your new studio. Sure beats the bed in the background from before. Yeah, we've upgraded, JJ. I was younger. I had less money. I didn't know what I really wanted to do. And now as we've gone through this YouTube season of my life, I've realized, it's really important for me to have a studio. So I'm glad I've got one. Let's see. Bram, Connor, you're a legend? ? How old are you? I am 32 years old. Do I look 32? Matthew says the same thing. How old are you? Age check. Interesting. I didn't know people were this interested in finding out how old I was. I thought we knew how old I was. Maybe I haven't mentioned it enough, but I'm glad that we are all on the same page now. I started this channel when I was 27, 5 years ago. I didn't start making content really then. Started making content a couple of years after, but yeah. Dave, thanks for the scalper feedback. Connor, I'm in Arizona like you. Dave, I know you're in Arizona like me, brother. I know exactly who you are. He said 2 to 3 hours before kickoff is perfect. Shooting for 200 level club seats, around 300 cash. We'll see. 300 cash total for 2 seats. That's totally reasonable. Totally reasonable. Even if you were going to say you wanted to get 3 seats for 300, maybe you got to go to like 340, but I think that's reasonable. Don't get me started. Says, after what game do you think will be in the top 25? A lot of that depends on the shakeup around the country, right? But you could argue that if Nebraska has a really impressive performance week 1 against Cincinnati, and then they follow it up with 2 obvious victories, and then have a couple losses around the country, Nebraska could move in by the Michigan game. It would sell more. It would sell more views for that, obviously. So the voters would be incentivized to say, let's get this to be a top 25 matchup. But yeah, I would predict it would come after Michigan. But if Nebraska has a blowout performance against Cincinnati and wins by 21 plus, yeah, I think they might be top 25 by that Michigan game, which would be after week 3. Hucking Fusker said, why did Ohio State ban Portnoy from the shoe? I don't know. That sounds pretty lame. That's a great question, though. I wish I knew the answer. Let's see. Gage, thank you for the $5 super chat. He says, which receiver has the most yards on Thursday and how many? I don't know. It's such a hard thing to know, right? It's a total guess, but I will go with a pick. I'm going to take Isaiah Hunter. I think Isaiah Hunter will have 75 yards receiving. I think Isaiah is one of the faster receivers. I think he's pretty well balanced, whereas Ja'Cory's like really versatile, and they're going to use him in multiple ways. They'll use him in the slot, and they'll use him to do little end arounds. They'll have him touch the ball and, behind the backfield and take it out. I think that you've got Dane Key, who's more of a deep threat. He's more of a possession route runner type of guy. I think they're going to get him the ball plenty as well. But I just think Isaiah Hunter is such a weapon that they're going to have to find ways to get him the ball and let him make plays in space. So I'm going to pick Isaiah to be the leading receiver with 75 yards. But who knows? I'll know more about this receiving core after we watch them. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to move over here to the game and talk about that for a second, because I have some thoughts. Okay? We got to preview this a little bit. So right now, FPI says Nebraska's got a 66.2% chance to win, Cincinnati a 33.8%, which seems pretty low. So why is that spread so tight? I initially thought Nebraska should be like a 10-point favorite in this game. I thought talent-wise, it being basically a home game, why wouldn't Nebraska be a bigger favorite? But then you go and you look at Cincinnati and you look at all of their returning production on offense. They've got 3 starting linemen back. They've got their starting tight end, who's potentially going to be an all Big 12 tight end. You got a quarterback who's a multi-year starter. And then you look at last season and how they had so many one-score losses, reminiscent of some of the Nebraska seasons that we've watched in the past. This line makes a lot of sense at 6.5. It's that special number where you don't get a push at 7, so you got to make a decision. But it's also a game where Nebraska's playing a Power 4 opponent, and usually those games are tight. They finish close because both teams want to win. When we're talking about the opening game of a season, we're basing a lot of it on their talent that they've recruited, some of the guys in the transfer portal they pulled, and then what we watched in the last few games of last season. And neither of these teams were exceptional down the stretch. Neither of these teams have insane talent that differentiates the other. But Nebraska does have the edge, and that's why they do get this. I would argue it's a 3.5-point swing because you get 3 points for being at home, right? So they get a bigger swing because their talent mismatch. So in the last 2 seasons, Cincinnati is 2-8 in one-score games. Nebraska is 2-9 in one-score games. Nebraska is 2-1 against non-conference Power 4 opponents, which was Colorado and Boston College. Cincinnati is 1-1 against non-conference Power 4 opponents, and both of those were against Pitt. Last year they played Pitt. They lost by 1 point. I believe it was 28-27 in their season opener or second game of the season, something like that. If you look back to last year, Cincinnati ended their season, I believe, with 5 losses. Let me double check here. Here it is. Cincinnati ended with a loss to Colorado by 11, West Virginia by 7, Iowa State by 17, Kansas State by, 26, and TCU by 7. So they had just a bad run at the end there, but they were dealing with a lot of injuries. They didn't have their entire team. So it makes sense. And the Big 12 is a pretty competitive conference. Let's not knock them for that. Nebraska, on the other hand, ended a lot stronger. They damn near beat Iowa. They did handle Boston College and Wisconsin. But before that, they were on a little bit of a morbid stretch. So two teams looking to right the ship, looking to have some positive momentum going into this season. And it starts with a non-conference game that is winnable by either team's standards. So let's talk about what a loss means to these players, because there have been a lot of interviews. We've seen a lot of stuff pop up on TikTok, on Twitter, on Instagram with little clips of these guys talking about what their expectations are and how much better the culture is, how much they love being at the school. They talk about how this team's going to make a big jump. And that means when they've got expectations like that, a loss can be pretty freaking damaging. So if Nebraska was to lose, hypothetically, I don't think they are, but hypothetically they lose, Nebraska's pretty gutted. You've got to think they've bought into this idea that they're a legit playoff contender. They've talked about it. In that CBS Sports interview I told you I watched last night, they talked at length about how much better this team is, how much better the culture is. It's night and day from what it was when Marquise Buford first got there. And they believe this team can actually make a run. If they ended up losing this game to Cincinnati, a team they're supposed to win, or a game they're supposed to win by 7, a game that's essentially at home for them, a game where all eyes will be on Nebraska and unveiling this new era of Matt Rule football. It would end the discussion. It would end the playoff discussion for 2025. And we wouldn't say that the season's over. I wouldn't say that, at least. But a lot of the players would feel that way, at least for the first couple weeks of this year, because they had so much riding on it and they thought, man, we did the work. We've improved all these ways. We got stronger. We got more talented. We bought into the process, and we still couldn't get over that hump of beating teams we're supposed to beat. And that's the thing here. Nebraska is supposed to beat the team that they're more talented than. You're supposed to win the game that's at home. And when you can't get that done, it really digs in. For Cincinnati, it's a totally different story. They're going into this expecting that they're the underdog that's supposed to lose. If they lost, it would extend their losing streak from 5 to 6. But they're a full touchdown underdog, so it would not be the same damage that it would be to Nebraska's players. And at the end of the day, Cincinnati's not playing to go to a playoff this year. I'm sure their coach is selling it to them in the locker room. But Cincinnati's playing to win the Big 12. That's a huge accomplishment for them. They won 5 games last year. So if you could win the Big 12, those hopes are still going to be alive, and that team would be happy with the way their season ended. So yes, they'd be gutted if they lost to Nebraska, but not in the same way that the players in Lincoln would feel. In terms of the school, I think about the Colorado game back in 2023, where Jeff Sims led the team out and Nebraska couldn't get it done against Deion. Man, you think back to those memories of how that season felt, and you think back to how that game made you feel about the rest of the season, right? Nebraska went in there expecting to be able to handle business. Now, there were some red flags, like the fact that Colorado beat TCU right after they had appeared in the national championship game, right? But you still felt like Nebraska should have gotten it done against those guys with this totally new look Deion team and a coach who was, a little bit flamboyant, with players who were interesting and loud, as opposed to a Matt Rule-led team that just brought a different vibe. I'm afraid that I would feel those same emotions I felt back in 2023 if Nebraska was to lose to Cincinnati. We'd go back and do our whole. The excitement would die down because Nebraska's next 2 games are against Akron and Houston Christian. It would be devastating to feel that pain of, we're 0-1, we're going to go get 2 wins, but then we've got to go and play a Michigan team who Nebraska very well could beat, even with a loss to Cincinnati. Trust me, the season's not over. But the vibe would just be off because the preseason hype got so out of control. The preseason hype went from Nebraska's going to make a step, and we're going to buy into the idea that they're an 8-win team this year. 9 wins would be freaking awesome, and 10 would be like, holy shit, Matt Rule's really doing this thing, right? The issue now has become the realistic expectations have gone out the window. We are now bought into this idea that Nebraska can compete for a playoff. The announcers have said it. The college football talk show guys have said it. Matt Rule has said it. The players have said it. The fan talk on YouTube, on Twitter, on TikTok, everybody's saying it. So although you and I rationally can look at each other right now and say, we know that a good season for Nebraska is 8 or 9 wins. A great season for Nebraska is 10 wins. We can logically say that. But we're screwed up in the head right now because we've been fed all of this material for the past 3 weeks. And I don't know how good that is for a fan base, because there are situations like Thursday where you could lose a game to a fully capable team, a competent Big 12 Cincinnati who could very well end the season as a 9-win team, and then still feel like the season's a loss. Still go back into your hole, be frustrated and pissed off for the next month until Nebraska gets their get back against a real team. So yeah, it's going to be devastating for the fan base if Nebraska loses this one. We'll leave it at that. Cincinnati, for their fan base, they're going to move on quick if it's a loss. They're going to chalk it up to being a tough road game against a team who is more talented. And their coach already knows that his goal for the season is to just make a bowl game. And losing to Nebraska does not hurt his chances. He's got to make a bowl game to keep his job. I think that's kind of the situation over there for Satterfield. As long as he can go and win I don't even know who their next games are. Maybe they play like a Miami of Ohio or a Bowling Green, right? They're going to get a couple free wins on the schedule. But as long as they can go out and win half their Big 12 matchups, which they very well should be able to, since the Big 12 is such an evenly talented conference, the talent's dispersed very well, and any team can win any Saturday over there, I think they should be able to make one. So they're not going to be stressed out. They're not going to be tripping. Obviously, there's going to be a little bit of shit talk right after the game, but it's not a big deal. It's a bigger thing for Nebraska, as we all know. You talk about the matchup, Nebraska's strengths, and I think it's very favorable. We'll just put it that way. Nebraska's strength is their offensive weapons, their offensive skill. You've got Dylan Raiola. You've got Emmett Johnson, Isaiah Hunter. We talked about his speed. Ja'Cory Barney, we talked about him being really versatile. And then Dane Key, who's got really good route running. So if you've got all of those weapons and you can figure out how to get them open and in position to win against Cincinnati's new DBs, I think you got a really good shot to win the game. The strength for Cincy is their run D. They've got an All-American defensive tackle who everybody loves to talk about. I don't even want to mention his name because I've heard it drilled in my head 5,000 times on every other show. But what I will say is this. Cincinnati lost 4 starting DBs from a year ago. Both corners, both safeties. They now got 4 transfer portal guys to take over those spots. One guy was a 2-year starter at North Texas. The other was a starter at Coastal Carolina, and he finished with 10 pass breakups, 3 interceptions. Then what was the other? Oh, a safety who came from Middle Tennessee. I think he finished 3rd team All-Conference USA. And then the other was a starter at New Mexico State. So it's going to be interesting because you now have these guys who all came from non-power conference schools. They're going to get pushed into the rotation with a former Cal receiver who started, a Big Ten receiver in Ja'Cory Barney, an SEC receiver in Dane Key, Dylan Raiola, who you could argue is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in college football this year, and maybe the best one next year. It's going to be very interesting to see how those guys adjust, and I think Nebraska has a major matchup advantage with their skill versus Cincinnati's skill. On the offensive side of the ball, Cincinnati's offense is dynamic. You've got 2 really good running backs. Both of them came from power conference schools. Actually, both came from Big Ten schools because Tawee Walker came from Wisconsin. Evan Pryor came from Ohio State. They're really good. And they've got 2 fast receivers. What's that guy's name? I think it's Caleb Goody. Let me check here. Caleb Goody Jr. He had 7 starts, 436 yards from Colorado State last season. I watched his highlights. That guy's freaking fast. They have another one, Cyrus Allen. Okay, Cyrus Allen came from Texas A&M, and before that, I think he was at Louisiana Tech, I think. Anyway, doesn't matter where he's from. What matters is they're both athletic, they're both talented, they're replacing their receivers from last season. But the most important part is they've got a quarterback who's dual threat, a quarterback who's experienced. Brendan Sorsby wasn't great last year. He had, some hit or miss moments. He was playing lacking confidence, we'll say. But now he's got a new offense around him. He's got this offensive lineman back. He's got one of the best tight ends in the Big 12, if not the country, in Joe Royer. So, yeah, their offense is going to be, we'll call it multiple. I believe we see Cincinnati come out in a few different sets. I believe we see them come out and try and hit Nebraska a few different ways. Nebraska's strength right now is their secondary and their linebackers. You don't know what you've got with the defensive line. So obviously Cincinnati's going to try to run the ball. But as soon as they run it down your throat a little bit, they're going to try and explode downfield. When you've got speed like you do with Caleb Goody, for example, I think they're going to try and get him the ball in space or try and hit him over the top. We've seen Nebraska lack in one-on-one coverage. We heard that they have made an emphasis in man coverage this offseason, and that's been one thing they've been working towards getting better at. So hopefully Nebraska doesn't get beat there, but I think Cincinnati's offense is going to present some challenges, to say the least. Some key players to know. I mean, I mentioned them all, but for Cincinnati, it's Brendan Sorsby. It's Tawi Walker, Evan Pryor, Joe Royer, Caleb Goody. Their offense is what I'm looking to. If Cincinnati's going to win the game, their offense has to show up. Nebraska has a good D. Are they top 25 nationally? That's yet to be seen. That's yet to be known. But we do know that they're going to be strong no matter what. So as long as Nebraska's D can shut down this offense, it's going to come at them with multiple formations. They're going to come out and really try to flex what they can with speed and with their dynamic ability at quarterback. Nebraska's just got to find a way to stop it. And if they do, I think the offense is going to be able to handle business. Nebraska's offense in this game probably goes for 31 plus. That's just my guess right now. I'm not going to give a prediction yet. We'll go at the end of the video. I don't even know what prediction I'm giving you yet. I really got to think on it. So give me some time. But I think Nebraska's scoring in the 30s this game. I think they're going to come out fast. I think they're going to try to score, and they're going to really try to make Cincinnati play from behind. If you can make Cincinnati play from behind, that's where you get Brendan Sorsby throwing picks. That's where you get him out of his comfort zone. They're not going to be able to run the ball down your throat, and they're going to be forced to let Nebraska's DBs play the game. And if Nebraska's DBs are playing in the game and they're making plays on the ball like we have seen them do these past couple of years, it could be a strong win for Nebraska. Strong, because they're turnover heavy. They have been known to force a lot. So those are my thoughts on the game initially. I didn't read any of the chat that entire time. I'm sorry, guys, if I skipped over it. Before I do, I want to shout out today's sponsor. Actually, we're going to shout out the season sponsor. You guys have heard of them before. It's brothrow.com. So brothrow.com is where I bet on every game when I'm betting on college football. I had a sponsor last year, but that sponsor had nothing to do with betting on individual games. This website, Brothrow, is for picking which team wins or betting against the spread. So you've got three options when you come here. You can bet the spread, which would be, let's go to Nebraska just to give you guys a cleaner idea so there's no confusion. Type in Nebraska in the search bar. You pop in here. I can bet the spread at 6.5. I can bet the money line at -220, or I can bet the total, the over or the under at 53. The beauty in Brothrow, which you won't see on any other site on planet Earth, you get even odds, which means when you bet here, it's plus 100. Now, if you've bet on any other site, you know what that means. Bet here, bet 100, win 100. If you go and bet on another site like a FanDuel, DraftKings, anywhere else, they are taking a commission on every single win. So you bet 100, you only win 90, right? So because you want to save that money, you come to Brothrow, you play where you can get your action picked up and where you can be paid out evenly. So to give you an idea, I've been using Brothrow for 3 seasons now. I have saved over $9,900 by playing through Brothrow, which means they've paid me out an additional $9,900 for winning on my bets. If I would have been playing, like I said, on a sports book in Vegas, anywhere else, they would have taken that $9,900 as their commission on my wins. It's massive when you talk about the savings over the course of a season, and it's been huge for me to be able to afford to be betting on sports, because otherwise I don't know how I'd be able to afford to. Usually you win half your games. So if you're going to win half your games, you got to get the best payout you possibly can. Now, this partnership is going to be, or the way you access this partnership and it benefits you is you use promo code CORN on the website. So you go to brothrow.com, sign up to make an account, use promo code CORN, and then you get $10 to bet with once you're on the site. I don't know what the limits are. I believe it's $50 when you first sign up. And if you want to become a member, you can become a member to the site, and that opens up your ability to play bigger. But I suggest you guys try it out. If you've ever bet on a game, and if you've ever wanted to try playing, get onto Brothrow, sign up with promo code CORN, get your $10 free bet, throw it on Nebraska -6.5 or whatever other game you think is something you'd want to watch, because it's only fun to bet on games when you're watching it. Otherwise, you're just a sick degenerate like me. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy using it, and I'll talk more about that through this season. But that's where I bet every single week. Now that we've gotten through the sponsor, now that we've gotten through the prediction, I'm going to get back to chat. Then we're going to make some bold predictions, and then we'll get over to my Big Ten predictions. Let's see here. I'm just reading chat, guys. I love seeing what you guys have to say, because I've been reading your comments for years, you know? I sit in here and talk to you guys like you're my friends. I mean, you guys are my friends, but I sit here and talk to you like you're talking back to me, even though I don't know what your voices sound like. Some of you, but not all of you. Leary says, what are your thoughts on Marquise Trent Watson? That wasn't like sneeze. Okay. Do you believe he's going to have a breakout season like he did at Georgia Southern? Yeah, I mean, it's hard to predict, right? But he was awarded a black shirt, I believe. He's going to split time with Vincent Shavers, and it's really a who knows after the first game or before the first game. You don't know what guy's going to step up. I would guess based on his talent, based on his experience, he should be a stud, and he should be able to compete in the Big Ten right away. And Nebraska's going to need all the help they can get at linebacker. They're going to rotate a lot of guys. So hopefully, I guess is the best way to say it. Michelle, thanks for being a member. She says we definitely need to be smart, Coach Smart. We could be very, very good. I'm just skeptical right now. My heart is broken. And I think that's how a lot of us feel, Michelle. A lot of us feel like we've been damaged in the past. We've believed way too much, and we're afraid to jump all the way back in until we see somebody prove it. Thursday is the prove it day. I think I've seen probably 4 or 5 prediction shows, and they said, this is the time. This is when Nebraska's going to prove it. I don't want to hear it. I heard it before. I'm done hearing shit. Just show me. Let's get going. Let's get to the game. Show me that you're competent. Show me that you are able. I know what the potential is. I know how good you are, Dylan. Put the ball in the right pocket. Put it in the guy's numbers. Don't throw it over his head. Don't miss throws when they're wide open for touchdowns. Don't do all the shit you did last year that lost games. Let's just show what we can do. Be competent. Make me confident. And then we can celebrate after, and there won't be any more questions. It'll just be, yeah, we're here. We've arrived. Nebraska in year 3 with Matt Rule is what we expected and hoped it would be. Michelle, our hearts aren't going to be broken after Thursday. That's my prediction. Lawrence says, did you watch Iowa State versus Kansas State last Saturday? That game had a crazy start with turnovers. That whole game was crazy. It was really exciting. I watched the entire thing. I took Iowa State +3. So I was very invested, and it was a great time. I sat at home. I enjoyed watching from bed for the first hour because it was a 9 a.m. kickoff for me. I went and moved to the couch, and I didn't do anything all day. I just watched those games. Went to the gym during the Kansas UNLV game, but I came back, watched more football, and that was that. You know, it's therapeutic for me to get college football back. I spend so much time researching it. You guys know it's been my job for a long time. So I spend a lot of time on the computer researching it, learning about it, listening to what other people have to say about it. So I just I like being in the middle of it and kind of absorbing the culture and the excitement and all the energy from all the different teams, you know, learning about all their traditions. I watched that SEC show. What was it called? Any Given Saturday on Netflix. And I didn't even know about some of the traditions at Texas A&M. I knew they had some weird ones because you hear people talk about them all the time, but I had no idea they were doing pregame practice chants and celebrations the night before. That's insane. But anyway, I love just absorbing it all. So let's see. Connor says, thanks for being a member, Connor. He says, is there a Will Compton curse? I don't believe there's a Will Compton curse. I think Will Compton's a little ridiculous and funny. He's a little bit of a troll too, but he's not cursing Nebraska. He can say all the crazy shit he wants. Nebraska's going to win a national championship. Nebraska's this, Nebraska's that. Whatever he says, hopefully he's manifesting it for the team. Hopefully those words come to fruition. You know, you could say there's a Connor Hayden curse. I've been I've been realistic. I've been a little high on Nebraska at times, but I've been relatively realistic. So maybe I haven't given a curse. Michelle says we should beat Cincy by more than 7. Damn. I mean, I think we're all on the same page, right? We all believe that to be true. Brandon says, I said this to Sam, but Cincy only faced 2 top 50 defenses last year and got blown out by both. Their defense was so bad last year. I just don't see how anyone gets to Cincy keeping it close. So it's the first game of the season, Brandon. Anything can happen. We saw Nebraska barely survive against Boston College. So before we get too high on this Nebraska team, let's beat a team like Boston College who's, I don't want to be disrespectful to what Boston College was, but they were not good. Nebraska won that game by 5 points. I believe it was 20-15, right? It doesn't matter what it was. They barely won the game. And Boston College could have come back and won. So my point here is, let's not get too crazy in saying, well, I don't know how Nebraska or how anyone thinks Nebraska and Cincinnati is going to be a close game. Nebraska's so much better. Well, Nebraska has not been better. Nebraska's been down in the dumps. And yes, they won 7 games. Yes, they made it to a bowl game for the first time in X amount of years, but they still look like shit most of the time. So until they come out of their shell, until they prove something, I'm going to be on the side of everyone else and assume Cincinnati's going to keep it close. Just being honest. Dave, he says, I have money on Nebraska covering 3.5 in the first half and half of that on Nebraska covering 6.5 for the game. I like both of those. I think Nebraska's going to do just fine in the first half. I think they'll come out explosive. The one obviously worrisome note would be if they started slow and then they got it together down the stretch and the offensive and defensive lines just leaned on Cincinnati and wore them out. And that's when they were able to get separation. But You know, we're not betting to make money. We're betting for fun. So have fun. Big Red Beer Shed says 9-3 makes sense. Losing to Penn State, Michigan, and maybe USC or Minnesota. Anything less will be disappointing, but must start with 3-0. To get to 9-3, I do believe you got to get 3-0 start. 100%. And they're not winning 9 games with a loss to Cincinnati. Connor says, I think 8 wins this year is the realistic goal. Happy if it's more. That's the floor, not the ceiling. I think the floor is 7. We'll see. Floor to me, 7. Who gets more total yards Thursday, Jacory or Emmett? I'm going Emmett. Emmett should be put in a lot of positions where he's getting the ball out of the backfield. I don't know that they're going to run him up the middle a ton, but I do think he's going to get the ball coming out, and he should go for, I don't know. I think his line is set at like 100 total. So I would say Emmett's going to finish with more yards. Jacory's line's probably set at 50. Emmett just has more opportunities to get touches at the end of the day, right? Let's see. My chat scrolled down. I'm scrolling back up. Chris says, do you think our offense or defense will have to win us more games this season? Well, in theory, the defense would, because these are going to be lower scoring games. But I think if the offense is going to go out and do what we expect them to, the offense is going to be the one we rely on. So I'd say offense is going to have to win more games. And we saw that last year. Offense needed to win against Ohio State. They didn't. Offense needed to win against Illinois. They didn't. Offense needed to win against USC. They didn't. Offense needed to win against Iowa. You get the point. The offense has been the culprit the last couple seasons, so I'm going to say that they're the ones who we're going to rely on the most throughout the year. Jose says, I'm excited for Nwaneri since he's bought all in. I am too. And listening to him talk, my God, he's got such a deep voice. Seems like a real man. So hopefully he gets up there, swats some balls down, maybe has a sack or two. He looks like a stud. I mean, he's just so freaking big. Gloom Trench, thanks for being here. Gonna have to go back and watch. Good thing there's a little replay on here, right? You can scroll back. I love it. Let's see. Dave says, yay, our HVAC just iced up in the upstairs bedrooms. Happens every August here in AZ. Connor, you shouldn't get this problem if you're in a centrally controlled condo apartment building. I don't have any issues with my HVAC, but I will say, Dave, I saw my first, what was it? Haboob yesterday. The dust storm that came over. That was wild. I got some crazy videos. My friends live down the street from me, and they were showing me the clouds as they came to my apartment. And I sat here. I was just reading this magazine, this Phil Steele's magazine, making some notes about some bets I wanted to do for this year. And I just hear this crazy whistling, and then all the water splashing on the window because it started raining and the wind was going so wild with the dust. Yeah, Arizona's been interesting. Weather's a little different from California, but I'll take it. My rent's a lot cheaper. Jose says, Connor, are you going to be at UCLA? Yes, sir. I'm going to be at UCLA. Well, you know, my schedule's ever changing. I'm 95% going to be at UCLA, barring some situation coming up that I would need to attend to. But yeah, I want to go to UCLA because my mom lives in California still, so it's an easy one for me to go to with her. Hucking Fusker says, would you be willing to do another season sponsor? Yeah, of course. I'm doing other sponsors. It's just Bro Throw's my only like season-long betting partner. But yeah, I'll do other sponsors. If people need me to talk about something, I love to work with people, you know? Let's see. Jose says, if we don't make the playoffs, I'll be disappointed. Jose, let's not get crazy. Come on, brother. Not making the playoffs, none of us thought Nebraska was going to be a playoff team this year. This year is the rebound from the nonsense year. It's the get to 8 wins, 9 wins, and set yourself up for a big 2026. In 2026, I expect Nebraska to be going into the season a top 15 team. Dylan Raiola should be a top 3 quarterback in the country. And I think we'll all be expecting a top 10 finish and a playoff appearance. But right now, playoffs, come on, we got work to do. Not saying they can't get there. Not saying you shouldn't want it. But to set that as the expectation and say you'll be disappointed if they don't get there, I feel like you're setting yourself up for heartache. Don't set yourself up for heartache. 9 wins would be freaking awesome, Jose. I promise you. 9 wins would have all of us feeling good. Let's see. Fiddy says, check out my stickers I posted in the Discord. Okay, after. Well, actually, I'll do it right now, Fiddy. Let me just give you an instant reaction to the stickers. Discord, general chat. We got this Corn Craze Discord group, so I'm able to see what you guys send there. Wow, I love it. Okay, so Fiddy just posted this in the Discord. Wait. I can't get it. Just going to open up Discord and show you guys. It'll be easier. So the Discord group has like 1,000 Corn Craze members in it, or subscribers in it. So and just hang out. Let me see here. I've got to link it. Okay. Throw the bones. Okay, I'm going to do screen share. And we're going to change it to... Wait. It's the window. And we're going to change to Discord. Okay, so he threw some custom throw the bone stickers on the front windshield. Fire, I'm not going to lie. And then he got a little Go Big Red on the back. I mean, Fitty, that goes hard, I have to say. If I was going to Nebraska games in my car, I would put these stickers on. If I just did it on my car out here, people would look at me crazy. Like, why do you have Go Big Red and throw the bone stickers? But for football season, these are crazy. So much respect. I love it. You should send more pictures with people next to your car. Make sure people are wearing Nebraska stuff next to your car, and then send pictures in the Discord so I can see it, because that looks pretty freaking sick. Okay, going back to manage my screen share, because we're about to do our predictions. We got it. Cool. Okay, really quick. I'm going to answer a couple more questions in chat, and I'm going to do my prediction. Are you going to have a meetup for the Michigan game? I don't have a plan to do any meetup, but I could do like something if you want to meet me. Yeah, we can meet. We'll talk about it in Discord or something, or message me if you want to meet me. I've had a few people message me wanting to meet up for the Michigan game. So yeah, just message me. That's the thing. If I'm ever in town and you want to meet, message me. That's the easiest way to deal with it, because I love meeting you guys. You guys are all my homies. We've been doing this for years together on this stream. And without you guys, I wouldn't be able to make content like this, and it wouldn't be very fun. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. Talk about special teams. Connor, see you in Lincoln. Oh, Trojan Blade. If you guys have seen this guy's channel, his name's Gabe. He covers USC. I haven't gotten him to do face content yet, which is his next step. He needs to get on camera. He's a little shy, but his coverage of USC is really freaking good. So he's coming to his first game in Nebraska. He has family ties to Nebraska too, so I think this game will hold a special place in his heart, just like it will mine. Oh, wait, the audio's cutting out? Audio's cutting out. Audio's good. Is the audio good? I want to make sure. Test. It looks good on my end. Damn, is it really? I don't know why it's cutting out. My audio on my end says it's all good, and then some people are saying it is. Anyway, Gabe will be at the USC game, and that was my point. Gabe's a cool guy. Go check out his channel if you haven't seen it. Let's see. Jerry, thank you for the $50 super chat. I appreciate it a ton. You know, Jerry, you supported a bunch on this channel. I always notice it. If you leave any comments, I'll always respond to them. But thank you. I appreciate you. Damn, it's so weird that some people have audio issues and mine is okay. Cuts out every 4 seconds. Reload the stream. Reload the stream if you're having issues. That's the answer. I'm going to keep talking. If there's any audio issues, tell me in here, but I'm going to keep rolling. We're going to talk about the Big Ten games. So this is the Big Ten schedule for week 1. I'm going to give you guys my picks. Now, I won't be right on every single one of these, but we're going to bang through. I'm going to tell you the prediction for the Cincinnati game after we go through the Big Ten schedule. So Rutgers, Ohio, I'm going Rutgers. Minnesota, I'm going Minnesota over Buffalo. I'm going Nebraska over Cincinnati. Wisconsin, Michigan State. Taking Ohio State. I'm taking Northwestern to beat Tulane. Anything else interesting in here week 1? It doesn't look like it. Utah over UCLA. And that gets us through week 1. Okay. Next up. How do I get to next week? Oh, next. Okay. Maryland. I'm taking Illinois over Duke, even though that's a road game. I'm taking Iowa State over Iowa. By the way, there's ads on this site. There shouldn't be. You can pay $2 for a month to get the ads off this site. It's called playoffpredictors.com, but it's broken. It's glitched somehow, and I'm not able to see why I'm unable to subscribe to their website for $2. But I tried for you. I tried to spend the $2. I promise I wasn't cheaping out. Ohio State over Grambling. I mean, there's just nothing interesting these first 2 weeks in the Big Ten. Michigan State, Boston College could it be intriguing? And then we get to Michigan, Oklahoma. I don't know what you guys are feeling. Let me know in the chat. Is Michigan beating Oklahoma on the road with John Mateer at quarterback? I think in that environment at OU, Oklahoma's going to get it done. Let's see. UCLA is going to beat UNLV. UNLV look terrible. And that takes us to week 3. Jerry, thank you for the $20 super chat. Thank you for being a member. I appreciate you. And what did he say in here? Tell us your prediction for the first game. Okay, I'm going to give you the first game because you're super chatting me. Let's break out. Jerry, when you tip as much as Jerry does, you got to do what Jerry asks because I don't want Jerry to miss it. Maybe he's got somewhere to go. I think Nebraska comes out, and I think they go foot on the gas pretty quickly. They get in the end zone. Maybe they settle for a field goal the second drive, but they're up 10-0 at the end of the first quarter. I think Cincinnati gets on the board by halftime, but at that point, Nebraska's probably going to have 3 scores. Let's say it's 17-7 at half, Nebraska. I think it's a slow third quarter. Maybe Cincinnati kicks a field goal, Nebraska kicks a field goal, takes us to 20-10. And then I think foot on the gas at the end of the game, Nebraska gets to 30, Cincinnati gets to 20. We'll settle with that. We'll say Nebraska beats Cincinnati 30-20, and that would mean they cover the 6.5 point spread. I think Dylan's going to throw for, I think his line set to 250 yards. I think he goes over that number. I think Dylan throws for like 275. I think Emmett and the running back room combine, honestly, for 90 yards rushing. I don't think they break 100. And I think Brennan Sorsby is held to 160-yard passing, 30 yards rushing. That's what I'm going with now. Those are very specific, but what's the point in just giving some basic prediction? Jerry, I hope that was enough. I hope that detail gets you through the next 2 days before the game starts. But that's what I'm thinking happens. I could very well be wrong. Again, thank you for the $20 super chat. Thank you for the 50. Your support means a ton. Jose said you're taking Sayin over Manning, 100%. Nick says Oklahoma wins over. The reason I said 100%, by the way, Jose, is because I'm betting on Sayin to have a big year. So I'm taking Sayin, and I think he has better receivers. Oklahoma wins over Michigan. Everybody's saying Oklahoma over Michigan. Interesting. Okay. We're going to keep pressing on. Someone said audio's cutting out. Please refresh. I don't know why it's cutting out. Now we're getting into the thick of it. This could be interesting. Week 3, you've got Oregon at Northwestern. Now I'm going to take Oregon to win, but I think Northwestern is going to be a team that bounces back after a pretty weak year last season. Alabama's going to beat Wisconsin, Michigan. Okay. Nothing crazy yet. USC's going to handle Purdue. Damn. Ohio's got to play Rutgers and Ohio State. 2 Big Ten teams in their non-con, which just tells you they want to make money because they're getting paid to do that. Iowa. And I'm going to take Minnesota to beat Cal. Okay, now we're on to week 4. Big Ten matchups are in. I believe Iowa will beat Rutgers. Illinois, I believe, will beat Indiana. Oregon, I'm going to take USC to beat Michigan State. Man, I'm going to take Maryland. Wisconsin's intriguing. Wisconsin has Maryland's old quarterback, Billy Edwards. I'm taking Wisconsin at home on a Friday night. And I'm taking Nebraska to beat Michigan, of course, and Washington to beat Washington State. But Washington State could be tricky. You don't know what they got this year. They lost a lot of guys, lost their OC. I'm going to take Northwestern to beat UCLA. I did take Northwestern to win at least 4 games this season, so I'm hoping they can win a Big Ten game. I'm going to take, USC at Illinois on a Friday night. I'm going to rock with USC. It's a tough one. On a Friday night, Illinois is going to be good. I'm going to take it USC. I'm going to take Minnesota over Rutgers, Ohio State on the road at Washington. Honestly, this is an upset. Here we go. I'm giving Ohio State an upset spot. I'm taking Washington to beat them. Mark it in your calendar. Watch that game. It's a Friday. I mean, that's not a Friday. It's going to be a Saturday. It says Friday on here. It's just glitched. So a road trip to Ohio State or a road trip to Washington for any Big Ten team is going to be a stretch to win. And Washington, if they are better like people think they're going to be in year 2 with Jed Fish, they should be a formidable opponent. I'm going to take Indiana to beat Iowa on the road, and I'm going to take Penn State to beat Oregon at home. Next up, Northwestern will win. Ohio State will win. Illinois will win. Penn State on the road, yes. Michigan, yes. This will be intriguing. But if I'm calling Washington to beat Ohio State, I'll still say they beat Maryland. And then I think in my preview, I said Michigan State would beat Nebraska. I'm going to stick to it. We're going to say Michigan State takes down Nebraska. And that gets us to game 6. Going back to the chat, does Corleone have any sacks? We're talking about Nebraska, Cincinnati again before we get back to our Big Ten prediction. Corleone have a sack against Nebraska? Yeah, I don't think so. I think that they're going to be double teaming him. I don't think he's going to get to the QB. I think in Edgewood, he's a defensive tackle, right? So, no, I don't think he'll get a sack. I do expect Raiola to get taken down once, though. We'll see. I hope not, but probably once. Jerry, again, firing. Thank you for the $20 super chat. You're firing tonight. I appreciate it a bunch. You're the man. Eli says, Kentucky fan here. Dane Key is a beast. Hey, we're hoping, Eli. We're hoping he comes through and performs. I'll tell you, Jerry really wants it to happen. I do too. But yeah, we really need him to be a stud because Nebraska lacked in the receiver department these last couple seasons. Nick says, if you're Matt Rule, what's your strategy for game 1 against Cincy? I would say strategy is figure out how to get your playmakers in the open field against Cincinnati's DBs. Test those guys early. Make sure that they're on their heels and that they're a little bit nervous. Keep in mind, this is the biggest game any of those Cincinnati DBs have ever played in. They were at schools like Coastal Carolina and New Mexico State last season. Yes, they're talented. Yes, they've started multiple games, but this will be an awkward, a new environment for them. It's essentially a Big Ten road game. They're going at night in front of rowdy fans. They're going against receivers who are proven. Ja'Cory Barney, proven Big Ten receiver. Isaiah Hunter, proven ACC receiver. And Dane Key, proven SEC receiver. You match those guys up with all new DBs who haven't worked together outside of practice, and that could cause some confusion. It could lead to some problems. Matt Rule, well, really Dana Holgerson, has got to find ways to get those playmakers downfield and put Cincinnati in some uncomfortable situations early. That's the key to the game. And I think that's the reason I'm taking Nebraska to win by 10 plus points. Let's see. Todd says, who gets the 11th black shirt? I think it would be Vincent Shavers if I had to predict. He's been injured, right? But that's my prediction, is him. Chance says, Connor, what's up? Headed out for tomorrow for the game. Super pumped. Curious how our D-line and O-line will perform. Your thoughts? I think O-line is going to be solid. I think this will be the best offensive line that Nebraska's had since Matt Rule's got here. The defensive line is up in the air. I'm really optimistic about the edges. I think Cam Lenhart's a stud. Williams Winery has crazy length. He's really athletic. Hopefully he shows up. And then you have proof with Deshaun McCullough. He's been one of the best defensive edges in the Big Ten before, and he's just such a freak athlete. He should be able to create some problems, especially for a Cincinnati offensive line that's going to have 2 new starters on it. So I have no concerns. Now, when we get to the Michigan game, that's when we see how they size up against the rest of the Big Ten. But in this game, I think Nebraska is going to outmatch them, which will be exciting. Gabe says, tuning in live for the first time. Thought I wouldn't like the live streams compared to your old ways, but this is fun, GBR. Hey, Gabe, look, the live streams are fun because it's communal. The live streams are fun because it's us hanging out. It's like being at a bar and all of us get to talk together. It's just I'm the only one with a voice. But yeah, it's fun. It's like a community thing. Like we're all hanging out on a Tuesday. You know, we could be sitting watching Netflix or we could be doing this. I like this a lot better personally. Jerry says, if we beat Cincinnati, I'll double my donation. We need the win first. Jerry, I hope to see you back in the live stream on Thursday night. I think we'll be live, 10 p.m. Pacific time, just so anyone who wants to join, that's the time we'll be on here. As soon as that game ends, I will be firing this up, and I will be here to either rant and complain, get emotional, upset, or I will be here to celebrate, talk positively, and enjoy the win with you. Hopefully, it's the latter. Daniel says, currently living in KC, not going to the game. Anyone know of any good bars or watch parties Thursday? Let him know, chat. I don't know the answer to that. I've only been to KC a couple times. Okay, we're going back to my Big Ten predictions because we're only halfway through. We got to finish these up. I'm taking Washington to beat Rutgers, Penn State to beat them. Man, Illinois to beat Ohio State. No, I said Ohio State already had a loss to Washington. They're not losing twice. Oregon, I think, beats Indiana. I think Michigan beats USC. Wisconsin, Iowa, I'll take them. I'll take Michigan State. We're on to week 8 already. We're flying through this season. I already took Nebraska to lose to Michigan State. Yes? Yes, I did. So I'm taking them to beat Minnesota. I'm taking Indiana to beat Michigan State, Northwestern, Oregon. I'll take UCLA to beat Maryland. I'll take, What do I do about Washington? Where are they at? Wow, they're 6-0. Yeah, I'm taking Michigan to beat Washington. I'm taking Ohio State to beat Wisconsin, Penn State to beat Iowa, and Notre Dame to beat USC. I am taking Indiana to beat UCLA, I think, right? UCLA is going to win one. They're going to surprise somebody. They're going to surprise them there. I think Michigan State can beat Michigan at home. It's time they get their payback. Rutgers is going to beat Purdue, or is Purdue going to beat Rutgers? This is a tough one. Both these teams suck, in my opinion. I'm going with Rutgers. Nebraska, I think, beats Northwestern, although I did say that they would be improved. Oregon will take Illinois to beat Washington. And then we'll take Minnesota. Iowa's tricky. Minnesota, we'll say, beats Iowa. Week 10. Penn State to beat Ohio State. I mean, it just feels so unrealistic. Iowa State consistently kicks Penn State's ass. Is this the year? I hope it's the year. I want it to be the year. I'm a Penn State fan this year until they play Nebraska. We'll take them. Indiana to beat Maryland. We'll take Minnesota to beat Michigan State. We'll take Nebraska to beat USC. Here we'll take USC. We'll take Penn State. We'll take Ohio State. We'll take Rutgers. Actually, do we take Indiana to beat Penn State? Yeah, that's where Penn State loses. And then we're going to take, Wisconsin's going to win one. Wisconsin's got to beat somebody. I think this is where they win. Late in the season. Yeah, Wisconsin could do it. Oregon to beat Iowa. Or does Iowa get one? Probably Iowa's going to get somebody top 25. Okay. We'll take Oregon to beat Minnesota. We'll take, Wisconsin and Indiana. I'll take Indiana. Penn State to beat Michigan State, although that's going to be a tough game for them. Michigan to beat Northwestern. I mean, it gets harder as you get into the season. We're so far out. What do I have Illinois at? 8-2. Yeah, it seems reasonable, but they're going to lose one. Is this the one they lose? No, it's not. Ohio State to beat UCLA, and then I'm going to take, I think, USC to beat Iowa. Okay. Then we've got Nebraska, Penn State. I said Penn State would win. Didn't I? Or did I say Nebraska would beat Penn State? No, I said Nebraska would win. We're going to take Nebraska to beat Penn State. We're going to rock with it. Penn State's fragile. They're gonna be on a stretch that's ridiculously tough, and they're likely to win one of those or lose one of those. Northwestern's got to win a game, but that's not the one they're gonna win. USC, Oregon. I'll take Oregon to beat USC, right? Or does USC have enough in them? I'll take Oregon. Illinois. We'll take Iowa to beat Michigan State. Take Michigan. Yeah, we'll take Michigan. And then we'll say UCLA beats Washington. Week 14. Right now, I'm going to say Iowa beats Nebraska. If Nebraska beats Penn State, then Iowa beats Nebraska. And then I'm going to take... I'll take Ohio State to beat Michigan this year. No, I won't. Wait, do I? Do I not? I'll take Michigan to beat Ohio State this year. By the end of the season, Bryce Underwood will be a stud. Oregon, Washington. I think we take Oregon. I think we take Northwestern to beat Illinois at the end of the year. Indiana to beat Purdue. Penn State to beat Rutgers. Minnesota to beat Wisconsin. And USC to beat UCLA. There we go. And that leads us here. That leads us to a very interesting end of the season. It would have Nebraska and Penn State at the top. Ohio State and Michigan and Illinois. That's 3 lost teams. Oregon State, a 2-loss team. Jeez, why is this so out of order? Because of who beat who? Anyway, your Big Ten championship would be... They lost to Penn State. They lost to Iowa. They beat Penn State. Who'd they beat? They lost to Nebraska. They lost to Indiana. So I believe in this situation, Nebraska would be in the Big Ten championship. But you can see I'm very low on Purdue. I'm very low on Maryland. I'm very low on Wisconsin. I'm low on Rutgers. I think Northwestern's going to be decent. I believe Michigan State can make a bowl game. Middle of the pack, you've got USC, Minnesota, Washington, Illinois. I mean, who knows? it's a full season prediction, and it's going to be extremely tough to have all of the cards fall that way. But if it does fall that way, it'll be very exciting. Nebraska at 10-2 would be freaking crazy. Jake, thanks for being here. He says, what's up? Just made it, GBR. Thanks for being a member, Jake. I appreciate you. Jerry says, and we need to beat Iowa. For 2 years, I've had to wear an Iowa shirt because I lost a bet. Stop betting your dignity, brother. Stop betting it. Connor says, are you still going to be doing videos? No, I'm just doing live streams. Too much time with the videos, and I've got other goals. You know, this was a hobby for me that turned into a job, and I want to take it back to being a hobby. I have a lot of other ambitions, and my life gets so consumed with my passion and my hobby that I just focus on it too much, and it doesn't allow me to be my best self, you know? So to become the best version of me, I got to pursue some other things, and that means I got to have more balance in my life. So now I'm balanced. I'm doing live streams during the season. During the off season, I'm living a different life. And then I'm still able to work during the season because I'm not so dialed in on making corn craze content. So I love it. I love being here. I love hanging out with you guys. I'm just doing something that makes more sense to balance out my lifestyle. So I'm going to be doing live streams instead. Which one was a trap game, Jose? Which one was a trap game? Was it a Nebraska game? I want to know which game for Nebraska is a trap game this year. You know, let's talk about that for a sec. We're about to do my bold predictions for the season, but we're going to talk about Nebraska's schedule and the trap game. Not top 25. We need to go FBS. Let me share my screen here. I'm getting to it. Nebraska. Move this over. Okay, here's Nebraska's schedule. What here is the trap game? I believe there are probably two. Trap game number one is Michigan State following Michigan, because if Nebraska wins, that'll be an extremely emotional one. Yes, there's a bye week, but you come off that, you're playing at home again, you're feeling confident, and Michigan State has the talent to take that one to the end. Not only that, Michigan State historically has been really good against Nebraska, and they beat Nebraska the last time they played when they were a superior or an inferior team with Sam Levitt at quarterback, albeit. So that's the first trap game. The second trap game, I would argue, is UCLA. It's pinched between USC and Penn State. UCLA is on the road, not an intimidating environment, but UCLA has a stud quarterback with Nico Iamaleava. They have a good coach. I know people question him, but he is a good coach. He was able to uplift UCLA last season with not that much time before they kicked off and made them a decent competitor. They obviously came to Lincoln and kicked Nebraska's ass. I think they won by like 8 points. So UCLA is the second trap game. Will they lose one of those? I would say yes. But if Nebraska can overcome both and they can pull off a win over Michigan, they're in pretty good shape to get to 9 wins, in my opinion. The other tricky one's going to be Minnesota, but it's not a trap game. It's just a normal game that people are going to be extremely focused on and worried about. So it'll be interesting. Let's talk about my bold predictions. I've got 4 for you, okay? First one, I'm going to go with Dylan Raiola finishes with 35 touchdown passes. Someone in the chat said this last week. They said Dylan's going to throw 35 touchdowns. And I was like, man, that seems like a stretch, you know? He only had 13 last year. Zach Taylor is the record holder at Nebraska with 26 in a season in 2006. So that was almost 20 years ago. To get to 35, he would need 2.7 touchdowns per game, touchdown passes. That'd be a lot, right? But not so much when you think about Nebraska's offense. Their running backs will be catching the ball out of the backfield, which means they can punch it into the end zone. They have 3 receivers who are all really strong. And if they're running those little jet sweep end arounds and he just tosses it 2 yards in front of him to a guy like Ja'Cory Barney or an Isaiah Hunter or who else, you know, maybe a Heinrich Haarberg comes around on a motion like that. Any of those guys can punch it in. That counts as a passing touchdown. Clayton Tune at Houston in 2022 had 40 under Dana Holgorsen. Clayton Tune. No disrespect to Clayton Tune, but I think Dylan Raiola's got more upside, and I'm guessing his receivers are going to be a little bit better. Just guessing, but you never know. 35 should be attainable. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a stretch, but I like that as a bold prediction. I'm going to go with the defense to record 15 interceptions. Last year, Malcolm Hartzog had 4 by himself. One of them came in the Ohio State game, if you remember that. They finished as a defense with 11 total. And I think having an improved offense that's going to force defenses on the other side, force teams on the other side to try and push the ball downfield and play from behind, it's going to make them throw the ball more. And keep in mind, Nebraska's got all 4 starting defensive backs back: Marquise Buford, Deshaun Singleton, Sierra Wright, and Malcolm Hartzog. Plus, they added in Andrew Marshall, who came from Idaho. Was it Idaho or Idaho State? It's the Idaho Vandals. It's not Idaho State. He came from Idaho, and he's got NFL potential. So with a DB room like that, and with an offense that hopefully puts teams in uncomfortable positions, we're trying to improve by 4 interceptions over last season. 2022, I believe Nebraska had 9 interceptions. 23, they had 9 interceptions. 24, 11. So this year we just need 4 more at 15. So they've had a 2 interception improvement over the last season. Now we're expecting a 4. Not expecting, but hoping for. My third bold prediction is that Nebraska has multiple all Big Ten offensive linemen. Now that can count whether it's first, second, or third team. Honorable mention does not. But we've got a lot of options here, right? Henry Lutovsky, I saw, was in Phil Steele's preseason magazine as a third team preseason All-American for the Big Ten, okay? You've got Rocco Spindler, Justin Evans, and Elijah Pritchett, who are all multi-year starters going into their second, third, whatever year as a starter. And then you've got better play calling, and you understand how to use Dylan better. So him knowing pocket presence, him having a quarterback or a coach who's going to help him to be a better version of himself and be the best quarterback he can be, will probably help him to get the ball out quicker. He's not going to be holding on to it too long. The offensive line should just look better overall. And because of that, I'm going to predict 2 all Big Ten offensive linemen. And last, I'm going to go with 2 wins over top 25 teams. This one is crazy, but we're going to rock it. Michigan should be top 25, even if they lose to Oklahoma, right? Michigan State, Minnesota, USC, Penn State, and Iowa. That's 5 teams. Any of them could be ranked by the time they see Nebraska. And you've got Michigan, USC, and Iowa all at home. So there's going to be insane fan support. The team's going to want revenge in all of those games. Think about that. Michigan, they lost to 2 years ago at home, and it was a total embarrassment. I said this on my last live stream. Dylan Raiola was at that game. He was in high school, but he was at that game. He watched Michigan completely annihilate and destroy Heinrich Harburg and a Nebraska offense that could not do anything. I believe Michigan held them to like 7 points, 3 something. I don't even want to look at the score. It was so horrifying. I was at that game as well. It was miserable. The USC game is a revenge spot. They lost to USC last year by 8. It was extremely disappointing. They had a really good defensive effort for the most part, but the offense couldn't get it done. Interceptions broke it down. And then Iowa, obviously, just despicable the way they lost that one at the very end. And the strip sack that punished them, the field goal that ensued, and then Nebraska getting to a bowl game, but having a bad taste in their mouth the entire offseason because of it. I just think revenge spots for all means 1 win in those. And yeah, good shot that one of those teams is ranked in the top 25. So there you go. You've got my bold predictions. You've got my Cincinnati game prediction, 30-20. You've got my Big Ten season prediction to give you an idea of where I think teams rank. And then I talked about a few other things on this stream. So I feel like we've covered a lot of ground today, huh? I tried. I came in here and I wanted to make sure I provided enough information and made this an interesting show because we're about to get into the season. It's going to be really freaking exciting when we're there. Jerry, thank you for the $10 super chat. I appreciate it a ton. Jerry's just firing today. He's coming in supporting the show like you wouldn't believe. Jim, thank you for the 7-11. He says, simply put, great show. Love the live chat over normal vids. And Jim, it's guys like you who make the chat, right? You always come in with good content that I can now talk about. It's like you provide the content for me to react to. I call chat content, but you know, everything's content in 2025. Jim, again, thank you for your super chat. Michelle, thank you for being a member. Thank you for the $2 super chat. I appreciate it a ton. You guys all supporting me makes me feel really good, you know? Like sometimes I question, should I continue to do Corn Craze? Do people only watch it because they liked my long form videos where I packed all that information in? Or do they actually like to hang out with me and talk to me on the stream? And this is a reminder that you guys actually are my friends and you like to talk to me on the stream, which makes me want to come on here again. I cannot wait for Thursday. It's going to be a freaking celebration. Pray for it. Pray for a celebration after. We don't need any negativity. Michelle says, don't talk about Iowa. Jose says, Dayton Raiola is playing very well his senior year. He beat the team Dylan lost to last year. It's freaking awesome. I hope Dayton comes in and competes for the starting job right away. But either way, we got TJ Lateef in the fold too. Nebraska's got a very positive quarterback outlook going forward. TJ Lateef, Trey Taylor, Dayton Raiola. I mean, it feels like they're loaded in the room where before they just couldn't get anything going. Exciting. Don't get me started. Says that's a ton of content. I'm always impressed with your knowledge. I'm a huge Nebraska fan. I love football, but I've never had that amount of football knowledge. Thank you for knowing this stuff. You know, brother, thank you for being here to listen to it. I'm addicted. You know, I watch football. I play the football games. I talk to my friends about it all the time. I bet on football. It's been my passion since I was a little kid. And so when you're that passionate and obsessed about something, it just gets dug into your brain and it just sits there. So I don't know. I don't know why I got to this point, but yeah, I'm a psycho. Chris says, Connor, prediction for UCF and Frost his first year. Let's see. Let's see what their schedule says. I'm going to pull it up real quick and tell you because that is a good question. Wait. Bang. UCF. My keyboard's off. UCF football schedule. So I think UCF's going to be a decent team. And they play in the Big 12, which is a conference where anything can happen. They've got a new starting quarterback. They're playing 2 easy games to start the year. I think they start 2-0. And then it's going to be interesting. Can they beat North Carolina? Can they beat Kansas, a Cincinnati? I think if we look at the first 6 games of the season, I'm going to predict 1, 2, 3 wins. Then we get to the last games. That's 4, 5. I'm going to say UCF gets to a bowl game. I think they're going to go 6-6. So, I mean, they play Houston, they play Oklahoma State, West Virginia, Kansas. None of those teams are electric. None of those teams are going to come out and really dominate in terms of talent. So I think when you got an evenly matched opponent, Scott Frost should be able to work some things out. I hope he can. I really want the best for that guy. I want to see him win. And I want to see UCF be good again. They were interesting, you know? Never mind me, Connor. I've said it like your last 3 streams. Screw the videos and do live so we can talk amongst each other. I'm here, brother. Don't worry. You and I are on the same page. I got you. Michelle says she lives football, college, and NFL. High Mountain Guy says Trey's a 5-star waiting to happen and is so all in. The future is burning bright. Dude, Trey is so all in. I love that guy. He's so cool. Like every time I watch him talk, I'm like, damn, this kid's really, what is he, like 16 years old? You know what's interesting about Nebraska? One more thought. I don't want to leave you without telling you this because watching all these interviews and the Matt Rule podcasts and the players speak, it's impressive how well-spoken, how articulate, and how dialed in like the Matt Rule program is. You hear a lot of college kids talk and they're just not that, I don't want to use the word bright. It's just the things they talk about feel kind of shallow. They don't really have that many deep thoughts. They just are kind of eh. Whereas a Matt Rule team just seems like they're all guys who are dialed, they're focused, they listen, and they're coachable, they want to learn, and then when they speak, they sound freaking smart. Like they sound like a Matt Rule, you know? Like they're being led by a guy who's, I don't want to call him a football genius, but Matt Rule is extremely intelligent in the world of football. So now his players are all getting that education from him. And I think you're going to see a lot of coaches come out of this program, right? Like who knows which players on Nebraska's team are going to be future coaches. Right now, they're all 20 years old. But the way Matt Rule coaches, the way he speaks, these guys are picking up on some things. And I bet you we're going to see more coaches. He already has a ton through his pipeline, a bunch of guys who have worked with him and now gone on to bigger schools like Fran Brown, for example, who's a head coach at Syracuse. But yeah, the team impresses me is my point. And it's really exciting that we have a team who you can listen to anybody talk and you're pretty much enthusiastic the entire time. There have been very few times in the past where I'd watch a press conference of a random player and want to hear what the guy had to say because it was just going to be something basic or boring. Now the players get into it like the coaches do. And I'm like, geez, this is interesting. Like it's fun, you know? And it's good for the players, obviously. It helps their brand because then you want to listen to them and it'll lead to bigger and better opportunities for them in the future. So let's see. Don't Get Me Started says you should do another episode of bold predictions from the Corn Craze Army and kick the least likely and most likely from the comment section. That's a good one. That's a good idea. But I can't do another show. I'm busy tomorrow. Otherwise, I would. You're right. I need to do more stuff where I ask you guys for your opinions and react to them. Okay, you're giving me ideas for future streams, brother. I'm going to do stuff for future streams. Don't worry. Gabe, thanks for the $5 super chat. He says, I said thanks for the $5 super chat. He says, thanks for the shout out earlier. 4 years at Husker Vision for me during the Frost era. Rough, but that's when I found your vids. Cheers. Man, the Frost era was interesting, but I will tell you, there were really good content moments out of the Frost era. So I don't know what you were doing at Husker Vision, but I will tell you, there was some good content that came out during that time. And I feel like that's when I met Jordan at J-Lit. and I got to come in and see the behind the scenes and see how all the content was made and see what they were doing and how much investment there was into that department. And I realized, wow, Nebraska's actually, cutting edge in that area. So that's awesome. You got to work there and learn a lot about what's going on behind the scenes, brother. Let's see. Todd says, does Archie get his own special fan chant when he punts? I don't know that he's going to get his own special fan chant because you have to have a name that's chantable. Archie, or I guess he could. I guess there is a world where I could hear the stadium chanting his name because he has a two-syllable name. Let's see. Jose says, I remember how loyal I was to Frost. Those days were definitely rough, and Frost is such a boring talker. Always put me to sleep. Frost is no Matt Rule. But yes, I agree with you. He is not a Matt Rule. He is not that great of a speaker. Craig says, Connor, have you seen any of the new Rule podcast? I didn't. Was there a new one? I saw the first one. I haven't seen a second one. If there was a second one that came out, I have not been paying attention. I've been a little busy. Let's see. Corey says, is it just me or do we feel like we'll know how good our run defense will be on Thursday? I think we'll get an idea because you have two talented running backs. You have a quarterback who's dual threat. You have a serviceable offensive line. I think, yeah, Thursday's going to give us an idea. It's not going to be like Akron or Houston Christian where you'll have no clue if those guys measure up talent-wise. You could argue that Cincinnati will be like a Northwestern or like a Maryland, like a Wisconsin. They'll be like those teams that Nebraska is going to see later on down the road. So yeah, it should give us an idea of what's to come in the next few weeks. Joseph says, any thoughts on the D-line being too light and we'll have a hard time stopping the run? I don't have any thoughts yet because I don't want to put unrealistic expectations out there and say that I think they're going to be dominant like the last one. I also don't want to undersell them and say, they're smaller or they don't have as much game experience. I think Matt Rule's done a really good job at impressing us with the defense ever since he got to Nebraska. And now he has 3 years in the program with guys he handpicked to lead that room. I think it's going to be fine. I'm not going to get upset about anything until there's reason to get upset. We're going to find out. But okay. Oh, Dave with the freaking super chat firing as I'm getting ready to sign off. Thank you for the $40.10. Thank you for being a member. He said, did I start the score predictions in dollars and cents? This is for your BUM fund. 40-10 over Cincy. I'll be there to witness our coming out party for Archie. Archie. We. Is that the new chant you're creating yourself? Dave, I cannot wait to hear what the environment's like in Cincinnati. I'm hoping you make some videos and send them off to me on Instagram or the Discord or something. I need to see. But yeah, that's great. You're going to be there. I don't know that it was you who started the score predictions. It might have been Jim. Jim fired one off last year and I was like, oh, wow, is this going to be a new thing? And obviously you kept it rolling. So again, thank you for the super chat. I hope you have a great time at the game. And 40-10 sounds freaking fire. We'll see. But that sounds like a stretch. 40-10, man. If they win by that much, I'm sitting here popping a bottle of champagne. I say that, and now I got to go buy a bottle of champagne because you're going to hold me to it when we get to the end of the game and they win by 30 points. But we'll see. Okay, guys, I appreciate all of the support. I still got to go to the gym, so I got to get out of here. But I'm going to see you back here on Thursday night, 10-ish p.m. Pacific time, because that's when the game should end. And hopefully it's a celebration together. Yeah, I know I'm not making as much content, but I'm trying to make sure that the content I do make is impactful and we all have a good time together. So thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting all the content I make. And until next time, until next time, thank you for being here. And I will see you in the next one. Go Big Red.